Have you ever watched someone walk away from you, certain they were escaping to something better? Have you stood at the edge of everything breaking, holding a secret so powerful it could rewrite your entire life? For Elara Vance, that moment came as rain washed the fresh dirt from her father's grave, her hands still trembling from lowering his casket into the earth. In her pocket, a key. Not to a safety deposit box of money, but to a truth her father died protecting. A truth her husband, Liam, was about to discover in the most devastating way possible just 24 hours after abandoning her at the cemetery to marry his colleague. He thought he was trading up. He thought he was leaving a struggling artist for a woman with connections. What he didn't know was that the humble art teacher he'd dismissed as just a painter had left his daughter a legacy worth more than any fortune. But what happens when the man who walked away realizes he abandoned the very key to everything he ever wanted? The hospice room smelled of lavender oil and impending loss. Elara Vance had been tracing the blue veins on her father's hand for hours, watching the rise and fall of his chest grow shallower, more sporadic. Leo Vance, art teacher at Westwood High, painter of quiet landscapes, her anchor in every storm, was leaving her. Her phone buzzed on the windowsill. Liam, still at hospice. Client dinner ran late. Staying at the firm's apartment. Don't wait up. Elara stared at the words. Her father was dying this moment, and Liam was at a dinner. The cold certainty that had been building for months solidified in her chest. Elara. Her father's voice was a dry leaf rustle, but his eyes, those painter's eyes that saw light where others saw shadow, were clear. Need you to listen. My studio. Back wall. Behind the Venice canvas. A wooden panel slides. Dad, save your strength. No time. His grip, surprisingly strong for a man whose body was failing, tightened. A journal. My grandmother's. Everything's there. Everything I should have told you. I don't understand. You will. He coughed, the sound tearing through the quiet room. Promise me. Go there first. Before anything else. Don't tell anyone. Especially. He paused, gathering breath. Especially not Liam. Why? Because I see how he looks at your paintings now, Leo whispered. Like they're hobbies, not your soul. Like you're an expense. Now that I'm sick. Now that the baby's coming. Tears blurred Elara's vision. 7 months pregnant, her belly a tight curve under her father's worn cardigan, the one that smelled of turpentine and sage. I added something to my will last month, he continued, each word an effort. Protection. For you. For my grandchild. The machines began their slower, final song. A nurse appeared, checked the monitors, and retreated with a sympathetic nod. Time was measured in breaths now, not hours. Leo smiled, a ghost of the radiant grin that had lit up her childhood. Best day of my life. When your mother placed you in my arms in that little Paris studio. We were broke. Happy. So happy. Elara's mother had died when she was 3, a car accident on a rain-slicked road in Provence. She existed in photographs and her father's stories, a ceramicist with muddy hands and a laugh like wind chimes. My family, the Ashfords. Leo's voice grew distant. They wanted a lawyer, a banker, not an artist marrying a potter. They gave me a choice. Her or the legacy. What legacy? The Ashford collection. His eyes found hers. 7 generations of art. Paintings, sculptures, pieces in museums you've walked past. Worth, not millions. More. I chose her. Chose this. He gestured weakly at the modest room. Never regretted it. Not once. Elara's mind reeled. Her father, who'd budgeted for her art supplies by skipping lunches, who'd painted houses in summer to pay for her college, was talking about museum collections. Why didn't you tell me? Wanted you to love art for art. Not for what it could buy. Wanted someone to love you for you. His breathing grew labored. But I never stopped, curating it. Protecting it. For you. The monitors began their urgent warning. Elara wanted to call the nurse, but couldn't release his hand. The journal, Leo gasped, pulling her close with his final strength. Trust the path. I know it will hurt. I know what's coming. But trust the path. What's coming, Dad? His eyes were closing. You were never alone. You were never poor. You were never powerless. I made sure of that. And then he was gone. The flatline was a sound she felt in her bones. Elara collapsed against his still chest, sobbing into the cardigan, the key heat pressed into her palm biting into her skin. The cemetery rain was relentless. Elara stood under the black canopy, Liam beside her but miles away. He held an umbrella carefully over his own suit, checking his watch as the minister spoke of dust and ashes. After the service, he leaned close. I have to go. The Henderson merger. Today. Her voice was numb. It's been on the calendar for months, Elara. You'll be fine. His kiss on her cheek was perfunctory. He was gone before she could process the abandonment, already on his phone. That night, alone in her father's cluttered studio, surrounded by half-finished canvases and the ghosts of his creativity, her phone illuminated a different truth. A notification. Liam tagged in a photo. There he was, at a rooftop bar she'd never seen, his arm around a sleek woman in a silver dress, Simone Rousseau. The caption, celebrating new horizons. Elara clicked Simone's profile, partner at Liam's firm, photos of galas, ski trips, a curated life of success. A photo from 2 months ago, Liam and Simone at an art auction, his hand on the small of her back. When you meet your match. While Elara had held vigil at a deathbed, he'd been building a new life. The next morning, Liam arrived at 9, smelling of expensive coffee and detachment. He placed a folder on her father's paint-stained worktable. I want a divorce. The words, expected yet brutal, stole the air from the room. We've grown apart, he said, rehearsed. You're consumed by your father's illness. By your art. I need something more aligned with my trajectory. My father died yesterday. The timing isn't ideal. Elara laughed, a broken sound. I'm 7 months pregnant with your child. My only family just died. And the timing isn't ideal. He slid his phone across the table, showing Simone's profile. She understands the world I operate in. She's a partner. In every sense. And what am I? You're a talented artist, Elara. But art doesn't pay the bills for the life I want. She signed the papers with a steady hand, something cold crystallizing inside her. He left without looking back. Alone, Elara walked to the back wall of the studio, to her father's painting of Venice, a gift for her mother, never finished. Behind it, the wooden panel slid away easily. Inside, a carved wooden box. Not a safety deposit box key. A journal, centuries old, leather-bound, and beneath it, a single sheet of heavy parchment. My dearest Elara, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you're probably lost. Forgive me for the secret. The Ashford collection isn't just art. It's 7 generations of artistic legacy. The rights, the authentication documents, the provenance files. It's not cash in a bank. It's cultural capital. Worth approximately 800 million, but more importantly, its influence. It's a seat at every table that matters in the art world. I know Liam will leave. I've seen it for months. He thinks he's walking away from a struggling painter's daughter. Let him. When he realizes what he abandoned, don't gloat. Build. Create. Use this legacy not for luxury, but for leverage. To create spaces for artists like us. To change what the world values. The collection is held in a perpetual trust administered by the Ashford Foundation. Liam cannot access it. It passes only to you, and then to your child. It's protected from husbands who see wives as expenses. You are an Ashford. We don't seek revenge. We create beauty so undeniable that those who dismissed us spend their lives regretting they ever looked away. Trust the path. I love you more than all the masterpieces in the world. Dad. Elara sat on the studio floor, the journal in her lap, her father's final painting watching over her. She wasn't a billionaire heiress. She was something more potent, a keeper of a legacy. A keyholder. Her phone buzzed. A text from Simone. Elara, this is Simone. I know this is difficult, but Liam and I are committed to each other. We'd appreciate your cooperation as we move forward. We're engaged, and we'd like to settle matters quickly. Elara didn't respond. Instead, she opened her laptop and emailed the contact at the Ashford Foundation. Then she packed a bag. Not for revenge, for a pilgrimage. Elara now holds a legacy more powerful than money, but her heart is shattered. If you discovered your family's hidden cultural inheritance, would you use it for personal power or to transform an entire industry? The Ashford Foundation occupied a renovated brownstone in Greenwich Village, not a skyscraper. The air smelled of old paper, beeswax, and quiet authority. Elara was greeted not by a receptionist, but by a woman in her 60s with ink-stained fingers and intelligent eyes. Elara, I'm Celia Ashford, your father's cousin, and your trustee. She smiled, genuine warmth in her gaze. Leo spoke of you constantly. Said you had your mother's hands and your great-grandmother's eye for color. Over tea in a sunlit library lined with art books, Celia unfolded the legacy. It wasn't stocks or real estate. It was authentication rights to 3 major European art collections. It was the controlling vote on 2 museum boards. It was the intellectual property to a lost Renaissance pigment formula. It was provenance documents that could authenticate or debunk artworks worldwide. Your father restructured everything last month, Celia said gently. After Liam visited him, Elara's breath caught. He visited. 15 minutes. Spent it asking if Leo had saleable assets to offset the burden of your pregnancy and his medical bills. Celia's mouth tightened. The next day, Leo made certain the trust was irrevocable, untouchable by spouses. He wanted you to have the power, not the purse. Celia slid a folded note across the table. Leo's handwriting, shaky but clear. Celia, if Liam files for divorce and he will offer him nothing. Not a brushstroke. He sees art as decoration. Elara sees it as dialogue. Help her build something that proves which vision matters. Elara felt the cold clarity return. I want to start a grant foundation. For artists who are parents. For single mothers trying to paint while raising children. For artists caring for sick family members. Celia's eyes gleamed. Your father established the Vance Ashford Fellowship with a $20 million endowment. It's ready. But first, she leaned forward. The annual Contemporary Art Gala is in 3 weeks. Every major gallery owner, critic, and collector will be there. Liam's firm is a sponsor. Simone Russo chairs the committee. Elara understood. I'd like to attend. As myself. Not as Liam's soon-to-be ex-wife. Better. Celia smiled. You'll attend as the newly appointed director of the Ashford Collection. And you'll announce the fellowship that night. The invitations went out on heavy, handmade paper. Liam and Simone received theirs at their shared apartment. Simone, thrilled at the prestige, RSVP'd immediately. The gala was held at the Museum of Modern Art, under Calder Mobiles and Rothko Color Fields. Elara arrived alone, wearing her mother's simple emerald pendant and a dress the color of midnight, her pregnant belly a curve of power, not vulnerability. She saw them before they saw her. Liam, uncomfortable in a room where conversation wasn't about mergers but meaning. Simone, radiant in crimson silk, working the room with predatory grace. Celia took the microphone. Tonight, we celebrate not just art, but legacy. It's my honor to introduce the new director of the Ashford Collection, and the founder of the Vance Ashford Fellowship for Artist Parents. Ms. Elara Vance Ashford. Every eye turned. Elara stepped forward, watching recognition transform Liam's face into a mask of shock, then dawning horror. Simone's smile froze, then shattered. 3 months ago, Elara began, her voice steady in the cavernous space, I lost my father. He was a high school art teacher who believed beauty was a birthright. What he didn't tell me was that he was also Leo Ashford, heir to one of the most significant private art legacies in the world. She saw Liam grip his champagne flute, knuckles white. He walked away from that legacy to marry my mother, a ceramicist with more talent than money. He chose love over lineage. And when he died, he left me not just paintings, but purpose. Elara's gaze found Liam directly. He left it to me in a trust so ironclad that when my husband asked me for a divorce 24 hours after my father's funeral, when he told me my art was a lovely hobby but not a life, he was walking away from the very thing that gives art its power, legacy. Simone had gone pale, her hand at her throat. This fellowship, Elara continued, raising her voice slightly, is for every artist who's been told to choose between their family and their craft. For every woman told her creativity is secondary. Because sometimes, the people who leave you are clearing the path to your true calling. The applause was deafening. The room surged toward her curators, critics, artists. Liam grabbed Simone's arm and pulled her toward the exit. They made it to the marble lobby before Simone exploded. An Ashford. She's an Ashford. You said she painted pretty little things. You said her father was a teacher. She was. He was. Liam's voice was strained. That pretty little thing just announced an endowment larger than my firm's annual budget. That teacher was Leo Ashford. My God, Liam, you divorced the director of the Ashford collection for me. I'm a committee chair. She's a legacy. Simone's voice echoed in the vaulted space, raw with humiliation. I pushed you to leave her. I told you she was holding you back. And she yanked the diamond ring from her finger, the same one she'd flaunted on Instagram days after the funeral. This is over. I can't be with a man who doesn't recognize a masterpiece when he's married to one. She left him standing alone under a massive Kandinsky, the ring glittering on the floor like a broken promise. Upstairs, Celia found Elara surrounded by well-wishers. They left. Quite dramatically, Elara placed a hand on her belly, feeling her daughter kick. My father once said that true art isn't about shouting. It's about creating something so resonant, the silence around it becomes part of the composition. He'd be so proud. I know. Elara smiled, feeling not triumph, but peace. The kind that comes when you stop trying to be heard and start speaking your truth. Elara has reclaimed her power, but she's about to become a mother alone. What would be harder, facing your betrayers in public, or building a new life in private while raising a child? The months that followed were a different kind of creation. Elara gave birth to a daughter, naming her Cora Leo Vance. Not Ashford. Vance. The name her father had chosen when he chose love. The Vance Ashford Fellowship launched with 50 grants. Not just money, but studio space, childcare stipends, mentorship. Elara reviewed portfolios in the nursery, Cora sleeping in a sling against her chest. The grief for her father became softer, woven into the tapestry of her new life. Liam faded into the periphery. He attended supervised visits that were polite and distant. He paid child support reliably. He'd taken a position at a smaller firm, his trajectory forever altered. The art world, once a social ladder for him, was now a walled garden where Elara held the key. Simone resigned from the gala committee and transferred to her firm's London office. The story had become a whispered cautionary tale in certain circles. Don't mistake a keeper of flame for a woman holding a match. 2 years later, Elara stood in a sun-drenched loft in Brooklyn, the first permanent home of the Vance Ashford Artist Residency. The walls were hung with works from the first fellowship recipients, a stunning series by a single mother from Detroit, intricate sculptures by a father who'd cared for his disabled son while creating. Cora, now a toddler with her grandfather's observant eyes, tugged at her hand. Mama, paint. Soon, my love. Elara lifted her onto her hip. Celia approached, holding a letter. From the National Gallery. They want to discuss a permanent installation. Your father's collection, your fellowship artists' work, together. Elara felt tears prick her eyes. This was the legacy. Not authentication rights or board seats, but this bridging centuries of art, making room for new voices. That evening, as she put Cora to bed in the room filled with her father's paintings, she whispered the story she told every night. Your grandpa was a teacher. And a keeper of beautiful secrets. And he taught me that what we create outlives what we lose. Outside, the city lights glittered. Liam was somewhere in that grid, living a smaller life than he'd planned. Simone was across an ocean, building a new reputation. And Elara was here, in a loft filled with light and legacy, understanding her father's final lesson at last. True power wasn't in having what others wanted. It was in valuing what others overlooked. In building a life where betrayal became background, and creation became the entire canvas. And that is how a paint-stained key becomes more powerful than a vault of gold. Elara's story proves that the most valuable inheritances aren't measured in bank statements, but in the courage to honor your truth when everyone else has walked away. When you stop trying to prove your worth to people who can't see it, you finally become free to build a legacy that outshines their doubt. If this story reminded you that your value isn't determined by those who leave, then do this. Smash that like button. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories about hidden strength and quiet triumph. Share this with someone who needs to remember their worth. More stories of resilience and legacy are coming soon.